Welcome, everyone, to the Union Federation podcast here on the Fandom Podcast Network, where we discuss both Star Trek and the Orville. We've got a really good show because we're going to be celebrating the ending of Season 3 of Strange New Worlds here on the Union Federation podcast, both on Fandom Podcast Network and the BQN. And if you guys are watching the live video here, make sure you check out the QR code. Give us a little click there. We got a lot of fun stuff on the Fandom Podcast Network. As I mentioned, this is Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3, the final episode of the 10-episode Season 3 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Not the last episode of Strange New Worlds, but the final episode of Season 3. Let's introduce our crew here to the Union Federation podcast. Let's go ahead and grab our Oracle here, our science officer, our very awesome nerdy nerd of the nerdness here. Let's bring in Haley. How are you?
Good. How are you? Am I underdressed, overdressed? I can't tell.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Okay, great.
Kilts are optional, but you're good.
Okay, fantastic.
All right, let's bring with us, of course, the queen of the BQN network, also our counselor, first officer. Let's bring in Amy Nelson. What's up?
I want to talk Star Trek. How's my vampire voice?
That was pretty cool, actually.
That was great.
I just want to say. Let's also bring in my my fellow co-captain. We share a brain. He's also the security weapons officer, Mr. Kyle Wagner. What's up, buddy?
I'm here. I have my own guardian here to make sure I don't leave the podcast and escape. But we are good. Data calls his spot. I call mine Stripes.
We are live on YouTube, everyone. So if you are watching, please give us a shout out in the chat. If you have any questions, any comments, we'll highlight those. We'd love to hear from you. Love to engage with our fans. So please check it out. Previously on Union Federation, of course, we did a wonderful deep dive last year of Next Generation, every 2-part episode. We also celebrated the final season of Star Trek Lower Decks. We also gave our thoughts on Star Trek Section 31 movie, and we also did a wonderful 10-episode limited series of the Orville crew profiles, including the final episode. We discussed all of the wonderful cast, crew, and also a lot of the Star Trek alumni that appeared or worked behind the scenes of the Orville. And of course, we're currently working on Strange New Worlds here. Go back and check out our previous episodes. We had a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Be sure you check that out. We also want to give you a shout out too, that our little tease, our next set of episodes here on the Union Federation. We're going to be celebrating the Q Fan Collective. For those of you that may not know, there's a really cool DVD collection that came out here. And we're going to be celebrating all of the Q episodes that ran from 1987 through 2001. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for that. But right now we are talking about Union Federation Star Trek Strange New World Season 3, Episode 10, New Life and New Civilizations. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the next away mission here, guys. All right. So, Amy, we have a little bit of a spoiler alert here first. I'm sure that if you're watching this, you've probably seen the episode. We want to make sure that you guys have seen it real quick. That is your Wesley Crusher spoiler alert, especially if you're watching the video there. So, yeah. Go ahead and give us the Admiral's Log episode synopsis, please, Amy.
As Batel prepares to leave the Enterprise to take up her new role, the crew discover that the Vesda has escaped from the transporter pattern buffer in a reconstruction of Gamble's body. Corby finds Gamble at a doorway to the Vesda prison, and the Enterprise goes to rescue him. This is a trap to lure out Mbenga, as he and Gamble need to be together to open the doorway. The crew learn that the unique combination of DNA inside Batel matches the biology of the beholds the prison. To open the doorway without Mbenga and Gamble, the crew devise a plan to simultaneously fire on it from the Enterprise and the Farragut. Spock performs a mind meld with Kirk so the two can perfectly sync their actions. Pike and Batel enter the prison and confront Gamble, who destroys the beholder and frees the other Vesda. Using her emerging power, Batel creates an illusion in which she and Pike live a full and happy life together. She then traps all the Vesda in the prison and becomes the Beholder. Pike struggles to move on without Batel as the Enterprise sets out to explore uncharted planets.
Awesome. Let's give a shout out to Trek Masters there in the chat. Thank you for checking in there. Let's get some first reactions here. Amy, let's go ahead and start with you. And by the way, nice outfit. Tell the listeners what you're wearing there.
Well, I thought since this is our season finale, I would dress up in my cosplay. So I'm wearing my red Strange New World and the command badge.
Looks great.
Thank you. What an amazing episode. I think it's put best by putting a mashup, and y'all know I love my TNG, of Masks and of Inner Light. And
I didn't even think about Masks. That's a good call out. Yeah,
and Power Play with capturing, so it's like those three all mashed up, and the best parts of it, because every part was so dynamic and so well played. And the chemistry that we have with these characters is so delicious right now. They are on fire. Everyone that's on screen just lights up my TV. I am enjoying this so much.
That's awesome. Haley, let's go with you next. Your initial thoughts.
Yeah, I watched this, and at first I was a little confused, and then I absolutely loved it. It was such a great way to end the season, and it's one of those where it just leaves you aching for more, and we have to wait for a while, and then knowing that we're only going to probably get like a handful of episodes, and then we're going to have another season, and it's going to be the last one, and there's even going to be less episodes than that one. I just ache, but also so much joy and so much happiness, because it truly is, and hands down, I can say this is my second favorite Star Trek.
What would you say your first one is?
My first one is TNG. I have to, it's gotcha. My love for so many reasons. So, but this is hands down my second favorite.
Understood completely. That's cool. Kyle, give us your initial thoughts on New Life and New Civilizations, the season finale of season 3 here on Strange New Worlds.
A few things. First of all, I almost want to say this is the happiest and saddest episode of Strange New Worlds we've had. It really covers the emotional spectrum in this. And Kevin, I know you'll appreciate this, but I did wonder at one point Guillermo del Toro directed this episode, considering the outfit Gamble was wearing looked like something straight out of Pan's Labyrinth.
Good call. That was weird. And I was trying to place like what kind of inspiration I'd seen that from, and well done. It's like the wow, weird alien with the eye and the hands and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed this episode. And what I found is what I enjoyed about it was actually the emotional reaction it got out of me, especially during the Pike and Patel lifetime that they kind of gave us, because there was a happiness there and there's a sadness, because you have Pike, who I think when this is all said and done might go down as the most tragic character in Star Trek, because we love him so much, but we know what's going to happen to him. And yet you have this sense of happiness for him because Patel gave him this gift of having this life experience memory. And just talk about a really weird mixed emotional bag that this episode was, but in a good way, because of how well it was performed, had the writing, everything like of that nature. And yes, I can understand why people have some confusion on this, because there's a lot of like still feeling like dangling plot threads here a little bit, and maybe the feeling of, did we really get a satisfactory wrap up of the Vesda, and did we really get enough of the Vesda this season? So I can see where everybody has a different feeling about this episode, but I think at the end of the day, it's the acting, it's the performance by Anson Mount, especially in this episode, that is just absolutely amazing. But yeah, that for wrapping up this season, I feel like it was a good season finale, but I think there's a lot more there to chew on this bone.
Good call. Shout out to Trek Master, says someone also compared Gamble's look to the TNG episode Masks. So yeah, could definitely see it. I actually make a very good cosplay if someone did a Gamble cosplay.
Ooh, that would be really Oh, that would be so
I know,
cool.
right? Yeah. My first, I liked. I was a little confused about this episode at first. I did a rewatch of it. I have thoughts of it. I'll go into a little bit later. It almost felt like a season finale a little bit. I've heard some people kind of a little wondering about that and like the future of Star Trek, especially a lot of the changes behind the scenes and stuff like that.
Do you mean a series finale?
Yeah, like a series finale.
Okay.
It does have feelings about that because we did get the inner light, what if scenario if Pike was allowed to grow old with his love, and it was nice to see that and the whole kids and all that kind of stuff. I just want to give a shout out to the special effects team. I can't remember the name of the planet that Corby's on, and you see those wonderful like pyramids that are like kind of like floating or like I don't know what you call those, that shape. That was just a gorgeous look for a city. And I wanted to kind of see more of that. I thought that was really, really cool. But we'll go ahead and get into that a little bit later. But first, guys, we've got some Star Trek trivia that we'd like to add to the show here that we always have a little fun with. So let's go ahead and get into some trivia. All right, I'm going to mention the first one here, guys. I thought this was interesting. So the general plot of this episode shares similarities with the 1998 non-canon TNG novel trilogy called The Continuum, written by author Greg Cox. Captain Bedell describes the Vesda as, quote, a very old, very powerful race of evil entities that were locked away by something equally powerful, maybe more so. In the novels, Q finally reveals some of the details of his past to Captain Picard, partly show him that Q occasionally does good. Roughly 500,000 years ago, a young Borg Q encountered the Guardian of Forever, asking it to show him, quote, something new, something different. So the Guardian shows Q a variety of places and other dimensions, with Q picking one at random, leading him to a dimension where he meets the entity of a formidable power and intellect known as O. Unknown to Q, O is an entity of pure malevolence and evil who had wiped out all sentient life in his dimension. Q brings O to our dimension and galaxy. The first thing O does is goad Q into trying his hand at testing lesser species. O was likely responsible for instilling this desire into Q in the first place, which Q happily did. He had Q test the Takan Empire, first mentioned in the TNG episode The Last Outpost from 1987. But the Takan passed Q's test. This irritated and enraged O, leading him to cause the Takan sun to go supernova and destroy their civilization. This greatly disturbed Q, who tried to banish O from our dimension, but Q wasn't powerful enough. O fled, found other malevolent entities to ally with. So I thought this was kind of interesting. I don't know, even though this is not considered canon, there's a lot of these great books that I do like that I do consider headcanon. But I thought this was a really nice shout out, plus a little tease to the podcast we're going to be doing soon on Q episodes, right? So
that's cool. Awesome. I have read those. That's a great story, and I forgot about. Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, Kyle, give us trivia number 2 there.
Absolutely. Uhura tricks Scotty with the same wear your dress uniform prank she fell for all the way back in the episode Children of the Comet. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's hot. It is.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Haley. He's looking good. I got to tell you.
Wait. Do we believe Scotty is appropriately wearing his kilt?
Oh, is he regimental? That's a good question.
Probably. I mean, he is a Scot, so he more than likely. But it's nice. It's very, very nice.
Well, Haley, go ahead and get us with trivia number 3 here. This was an interesting regarding the music.
The song that closes out the episode of New Life and New Civilizations is Wait by the band M83. M83 is a French music project founded in 2001 by Anthony Gonzalez and Nicolas Fromageau in Antibes, France, a resort town in France's French Riviera, situated between Cannes and Nice. The band is named after the spiral galaxy Messier 83. Messier 83, or M83 is a spiral galaxy known as the Southern Pinwheel Galaxy, located in the constellation Hydra about 15 million light years away. That's actually really cool. I actually really love that song. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, it was
And
a
I
really
just
good
want
song.
to mention, I did a little deep dive. If you're watching the video, check out a recent picture. I think it's a recent picture of the band, and the lead singer is wearing a really cool mask that could totally be a cool Star Trek alien.
Yes.
Yes.
And I looked at some older pictures of the band. They don't, he wasn't wearing this and stuff, but they've been around for a while, as we mentioned, since 2001. But I thought that the song was cool and a nice little shout out to it was another solar system. So I thought that was kind of cool. All right, Amy, go ahead and hit us with the fourth and final bit of trivia here. This was fun.
All right. Well, Pelia calls Spock Spock O, which is foreshadowing a gangster nickname he will get in A Piece of the Action. When did she call him that? At the dinner?
I think so. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I love that shout out to that original TOS episode where they dress up as gangsters on the
Such a good
the
episode.
Warner Brothers backlot there. So
Yeah.
shout out to Trekmasters. I cannot wait to see people cosplaying as hazed Scotty. I love that. That's funny. I think Haley's ready for that too. So I'm just gonna say
Yes. Yes.
Let's go ahead and let's get into the first away mission. All right, here we are. This is Union Federation episode 227, discussing season 3, episode 10, the final episode of season 3, New Life and New Civilizations. And our main episode discussion begins with our first mission report here for New Life and New Civilizations. I'll start us off here. I like giving a shout out to blog.trekcore.com. They said this episode gives you hints of what could have been a deeper and richer exploration of these ideas and some light discussion of the temporal mechanics involved. But the way it's communicated in the episode, it ultimately feels like it's a dialogue for the sake of getting you to accept Batel is the beholder statue, both from that point forward and all points back in time. Sounds confusing? Because it is. And this episode doesn't really care to go into more detail. It's almost more magic than science. The moment the prison on Vidia 9 drops away and is replaced by open space and a bridge crossing it is a cool effect, but it doesn't really feel earned. What's going on here? Who knows? New Life and Civilization rushes from set piece to set piece with joining exposition, but none of it ultimately feels like it really matters all that much. It just sets up for Pike and Batel to have their inner light moment. As Batel assumes her beholder powers, she, quote, opens the fabric of space and time, end quote, to gift them both the life together that they crave, marriage, children, growing old together. It is a very sweet moment, and the sequence is effectively put together to show you many of the key moments in Pike and Patel's life between their lives. Many fans have wondered whether Strange New Worlds was going to seek some off-ramp for Pike's future and give the show a happier ending than it's otherwise headed for Captain Pike. And even though A Quality of Mercy shows why that's not possible, I think there were fans who were still hoping some kind of creative solution could be written to keep the integrity of, quote, A Quality of Mercy and the menagerie, but still give Pike a happier ending than he appears to face. This is a question I've been seeing come up with a lot of fans here because we really love the character of Pike throughout this series. And Haley, you mentioned this is your second favorite Star Trek because of that and Captain Shiny Pants. Shout out. But I've seen a lot of people like saying, well, can Star Trek get creative here and create an alternate, kind of like Star Trek 2009 did, where we don't see what happens to him in TOS? So I want to ask you, first of all, was this confusing for you on the first watch? Because I've seen a lot of that too on social media. And did it provide any clarity for the eventual pathway that we know Pike will take, that has been told in previous Star Trek episodes and, of course, movies? Like I said here, guys, and I'll show on the screen here, we've seen Pike in this episode, we've seen him in the TOS episodes, and of course the Pike that we see in the Star Trek 2009 Kelvin timeline as well. So give me your thoughts. Confusing, and what do you think? Let's start with you, Haley. Oh, Kyle. No, wait, I'm sorry. Kyle put his hand up first. Kyle wants to go first.
I have a good thought, but I don't
Kyle,
think
you
Kyle's
better make this good.
I might become the bad guy here for just a minute. So I don't think the episode was confusing it's my one problem with the episode, with this particular episode, and actually the season of Strange New Worlds. Everything with Patel felt rushed, and it felt like we missed a lot of that storyline. We had so many fun gimmick episodes. I think we could have used one of those replaced with something more about what was going on with Patel, because we start off with her being part Gorn.
Kyle, real quick, I don't want to interrupt you, but we do have the Patel and Pike conversation on the next topic, so don't step on that too much.
I'm not going to try to step on that, but what I'm saying though is, as far as the confusion goes, I think if they would have done one more episode where there was a little bit more focus on what was going on with Patel and everything that she had been going through, I think it would have cleared up some things. I think they just tried to cram too much in way too fast with that. And that's kind of been my one knock when I look back at this season overall, is that maybe we could have swapped out one of those episodes that was more of a fun episode to kind of talk about that a little bit more and deal with that. As far as the Pike pathway, I don't think you can change it. I think as much as everybody, we love Anson Mount, we love Pike. I think at this point to change it would be, in a way, kind of a slap in the face to everybody who has been invested into the story of Captain Pike, knows the story of Captain Pike. And I think it actually just does a disservice to what Anson Mount has done with Pike and the direction they're going in. Because to me, the way this episode ends and where the Pike we're at right now is at the end of this season, it makes more sense of why he's willing to sacrifice himself in that accident, because of where he's at in an emotional state. And I think that's a very key point. And I think it would just be to change it now would just be giving into fan service. And I think this is something that you just can't. This is a fixed point in Star Trek timeline that I don't think you need to be messing with.
Trekmaster says, I love Pike's inner light moment. However, I wish it had been its own episode. It's a good point on that. I like that. The final felt like two different stories with lots of big ideas that did not always come together effectively.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you there. And good points there too, Kyle. Okay, Haley, what are your thoughts? Was this confusing for you at first? And how do you feel about the pathway that they're showing with Pike will eventually take?
Yeah. So at first, for, the first little bit, I was like, wait, what is going on? And why do we keep getting this knock on the door? And then as the story progressed, I was like, oh, I get it. She is somehow showing him and letting him experience this life together that she knows, and they both know going into this well beforehand is not going to happen. That, she's the beholder. And I do feel that story was a little rushed. And I agree with Kyle. We could have had some more clarification with that. We get little bits of it, but it definitely wasn't enough. But in looking at it, I loved it. I think it was absolutely beautiful to imagine yourself in this place where you could show somebody that you love, that you care so deeply about, that you're not going to be able to have the life that you want. So it was confusing, but it was so well done and so visually stunning. It was beautiful that after a little bit, I realized what was going on. The knocking constantly was the Vesda that was trying to break out. And I thought that was great. However, I posit to you all, because we have to remember there's an episode called Parallels. There is a universe in which Pike and Patel do live this life that she showed him. And as we saw in an earlier episode this season, where all these realities kind of merge into one, where they all were in the same room but not occupying the same space at the same time, they do have this life.
Is Parallels the one where Worf wins first place and then another one who wears second?
Love that episode. And Crazy Bearded Riker of They're Not Going Back.
Yes. That's a good
Love
one.
it. But yeah, so we have to remember back earlier in the season when they were all in that room, all at the same time, but not in the same space. And these coincidences of things that you can have happen. And so I think that kind of helps explain why we didn't get as much with Patel as we wanted, because there, again, so much happens off screen, right? They can only tell so much stories at a time and show so much. So I think you have to take all of that into this episode with you when you're looking at everything that's happening. So
was that the? Did you say that was the parallels? Was the one with Riker goes a little crazy, or he does something?
Well,
weird
there's
there?
the crazy bearded Riker. I call him crazy bearded Riker because they're
I
fighting the
don't
Borg.
wanna go back.
We're not going back. Yeah.
Kyle, you had a quick thought?
Yeah, just to interject because the way Haley was talking, it gave me an idea. What if this had been a 2-part finale where the first half it ends with Pike waking up in the Patel dream, and then the second half, this part 2 is picking up from there, and basically Pike living the Patel dream for most of that.
Like what Trekmaster said in the chat, is it would have been better if it was like a kind of its own episode, or kind of like a 2-parter. Yeah, that's a good point. Amy, give me your thoughts. Was this episode a little confusing at first, and how did you feel about how the pathway that we're seeing Pike go?
I really found that interesting, the article that you read, because I heard another criticism that this love story that they have might interrupt canon with Pike and Vina, in that why would he create this Vina when he has such this now love and now this entire memory of a lifetime? And so is that going to break canon with his love affair with Vina? So it's interesting that you bring that. Can we have our cake and eat it too? Can we get him to not have this major accident? And to those fans who want to see it, we now have this beautiful example of what his life can be. And it's this glimpse, and someone can live with that and be happy and know that there is some universe where Batel and Pike are together. I felt that this episode was not rushed. I thought it spent the appropriate amount of time. They never really spent a lot of time on Batel. So we're getting her highlights and her highlights and how she's affected the crew, because that's who she is. She's not a main character. So the fact that we get to see this beautiful party thrown for her, and everyone's celebrating her and recognizing, and she recognizes them in all the things that allows her to be this beholder. And this episode really truly makes you ask, do you believe in destiny? And that has been a thought that I have been thinking of since this episode aired.
Interesting point. When you said Vina too, I was thinking sounds like someone Kirk might have met in Orion area that he was asking.
We don't talk about that, Kevin. Kevin, we don't talk about
him
that.
For
we share a brain. We don't talk about that. We promise.
What happens in Orion stays in Orion. Okay. I found this confusing at first. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. I was kind of wondering, okay, what's going on here? Okay, I see what they're doing. And I got to tell you, I was a little kind of like, nah, and I did rewatch on it. And of course, there's a lot of moments throughout my first watch. I was a little sad because I know what happens, and I really do enjoy the relationship between Pike and Patel. The chemistry of the cast was one of the things that I noticed too. But when we look at what we've seen from Pike going forward, there was a little bit of me that I would have liked to have seen what happens if he does survive. I'll be honest with you, I'm that guy. I would like to see another version of this Pike. And I don't know if we'll ever get Anson Mount playing Pike again after Strange New Worlds, but I'm all game if they want to do something with a different alternate universe and have some fun with that, because I can say this, that I'm not done with Anson Mount being Pike, even though we're going to get another season and a half, supposedly, of Strange New Worlds. I know we're going to get a season 4 and then a smaller season of season 5 from the latest reports that I've been told. I was kind of going, I felt like there was something missing. It's not a big thing, but I do like the character moments that we got. So that brings us into the next topic I have here, guys. And the mission report number 2 is, this is called A Star Trek Love Story. And I got this from trekmovie.com. Shout out to Anthony Pascal here. He says, a solid finale wraps up several plot and character storylines while setting up new ones, although in no way was it a cliffhanger like season 2. In fact, it seems clear that the longer running time was used to make new life and new civilizations into what could have been a series finale. Did have that feel, I'll be honest with you, with plenty of little nods at the end to send off the show and the characters nicely. Like previous season finales, the focus here was on another trial by fire for Captain Christopher Pike, with Anson Mount rising to the occasion for what ended up being a more intimate and personal episode than we would have expected for a finale. There was plenty of action with decent pacing, but the heart of the episode was the impact, even tearful, tragic love story about both Pike and Patel facing their respective fates, with the word destiny mentioned quite a few times, just in case you weren't catching on. Longtime fans of the show will also appreciate how well the Pike and Patel love story felt bookended with her introduction in the series premiere, along with the organic growth of their story through these 3 seasons, and now apparently at an end. There's that word destiny. So I want to bring the question to you guys. Your thoughts on Pike and Patel's overall relationship and their characters facing their respective fates. Let's go with you, Kyle. What do you think?
I think this is actually a very key point for this episode and for the Pike story, because I think that's why I said it was so crucial for Pike not to change his story, because it's his destiny. Christopher Pike makes basically the ultimate sacrifice, and it's something he would do. And I think to change that really would take away with that. With Patel, I think it's more of the aspect because we really didn't know the character that well to set up her destiny. And she had been through so much change and strangeness really throughout this entire season, from being part Gorn now to changing her DNA again, exposing her to different things to try and save her life. It makes sense. I still feel like her destiny didn't feel quite as earned, and I think that's just because I felt like we needed more time with Patel this season if this was going to be the big payoff of it. But I think about their love story, and I think it's a beautiful one in Trek, because they've sacrificed for each other in every way, and for Patel to give Pike that ultimate gift when she knows his fate. She knows what's going to happen to Pike. And to give him that gift is maybe the ultimate expression of love, is to say, I'm going to show you that we could have, that would be us, and this is how much I love you, and I'm showing you the life we would have had. And yet, in the ultimate gift of love, it's in a way a little bit the ultimate gift of heartache too, because Pike has to keep going after this. And that's the sadness of this episode, is that Pike gets to experience having a life with the woman he loves, but then he has to come back to reality too and still have those memories. And that's got to be hard. But I also, when you it's just when you talk about Vina, is that maybe Vina gets a little bit created out of his own love and memories of Patel. And that, and I just think that's something that could very happen. I think I hit a chord with Haley. So
okay, yeah, Haley, I want to bring you in here for a second. Before you reply here, Trekmaster says, "Who is Pike's true love, Maria Patel or Vina?" The Telosians obviously thought Vina. I guess he already got to experience a lifetime with Marie, so they gave him a chance with Vina. Can you give me a heads up? I remember Vina, but I don't remember Vina. Let me know.
So Vina is, when they go down to the planet, and Pike sees this woman, and you have to remember that she also was someone who ended up crashing on this planet. The Telosians found her. She was so mangled, but they'd never encountered another human, so they didn't know how to put her back together. And so when they put her back together, she actually really looks quite deformed, okay? And so Vina is how she looks because that's how she remembers herself and how she wants others to see her. Pike, he isn't in love with her. He falls for her, but he doesn't actually love Vina. And so I think to what, Trek Masters is saying, Marie Battelle was his true love. Pike fell in love with Vina because of his time being there and being stuck by the Telosians, right? So later in the menagerie, it's not that he's necessarily returning to be with Vina. He is returning because, like Vina, the Telosians can make him appear to himself and to others as the person that he once was. I think the reason that, it's not that the Telosians created Vina. She was already there. They just put her back in her image that she remembers herself, much like we get with Captain Pike.
Just real quick, Trekmaster says that's from the Cage/Menagerie.
Yes.
So. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't think it's necessarily that, much like anybody else who loses someone, unless you choose to live your life and never fall in love again, you end up falling in love with somebody else again. And it doesn't mean that the person that you loved before and had experiences with and a life with is anything less than. But at the same time, you want to have that connection with somebody else. And so I think, Pike, again, returning to the planet, it's in part because he wants to be whole again and he doesn't want to be stuck. And he can happen to share the rest of his life there with Vina, who is in the same boat as him. Now, as far as thoughts on Battelle and Pike, I think it was beautiful. It's incredible. Like, if you could give that life to somebody that that you can't give them, but you can give it to them, it's so powerful. It's just absolutely just beautiful and incredible that she was able to do that, knowing that both of them had a different outcome than what either of them was actually wanting in their hearts. It was just absolutely beautiful. Like, I'm going to get a little teary-eyed because I thought it was just a beautiful story and a beautiful way to end this relationship that we've seen from the beginning that we saw Pike. And just absolutely gorgeous. When he saw the apron draped over the chair and he goes and he picks it up and he half expects it to say Chef Pike, I lost it. And so it's going to be amazing and incredible, the impact that this has on the rest of the seasons. When you see the cage and you see Captain Pike the first time, if you go back and watch it, I highly recommend that you do. He's worn down. He's tired. He doesn't know if he wants to continue being a captain anymore. And you can see the start of it at the end of this episode. And you can kind of see why he makes a change and he does these training missions instead because of what is set up here. And so it's a beautiful way to put that into the cage and what we know is coming and what this version of Pike knows is coming down the line that he has to face. And just incredible.
Well said, Haley. And I want to echo what Trekmaster says in the chat. Says, lovely explanation. Thanks, Haley. So appreciate that, especially the whole Vina thing. So, all right, I know you got thoughts here, Amy. Your thoughts on Pike, your thoughts on Pike and Battelle's overall relationship and their characters facing their respective fates.
All right. So is this a love story? Yes and no. And I'm going to be the eternal single person cynic of the group here because I think they both believe in destiny. And like I said, I was thinking a lot about, do I believe in destiny? My instinct is no. But if I were to ask you, do you? And how would you answer? For me, I'm thinking it's something that you cannot get away from. If you were in other circumstances, if you weren't born with your parents, would you end up in the same place? Would you be with the people you are with? And I think there is a love story where some people really, truly would be still together. I can just see it that they were meant to be together in every parallel universe. With Battelle and Pike, I feel that their love story is not them together. Well, obviously, I feel that their destiny is with their career, with their value. It's not with another person. Like, they value being in Starfleet, and to coin Worf, honor and loyalty. Like, now Battelle isn't loyal with the Federation. She is loyal to protecting the Vesda and keeping them secure and becoming the beholder. That is her destiny. And Pike, because he continues to hear the knocking, and he is forced to, but he does realize that this is not his destiny. He is captain, and he is going to serve that. And they both come to this conclusion. So they both understand that their love story isn't together. And how beautiful for them to have that experience together and know, okay, I can walk away and not, of course you're going to feel the loss, but it's mutual, it's combined, it's together. It's, yeah.
Well said, Amy. Well said. And by the way, I want to mention to you, Haley, the comment that you made about falling in love with someone and then something happens and you find another love later on. That rang home with me very well there. So I appreciate that. And Jim McMahon says, Battelle was definitely the best possible relationship I could have had after Vina. Well said, Jim. Appreciate that. Thanks for joining the chat too. You guys, I love love and Trek, right? I love Trek, I love Hallmark, I love all those things. And I kind of feel like this wasn't like a Hallmark story. It's more like a Lifetime story, if you catch the drift, between the two different ways that those networks will do love stories and stuff. Now, when it comes to like Spock and La'an and sexy dancing time, and we're talking about like maybe a 1980s sexy dancing movies type feel there. So, but I really
Forbidden Dance.
Yes, the Forbidden Dance. Yes. So, by the way, Trek Masters, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate the thoughts that you put in there. Please join us next time, especially for the Q episodes we're going to be doing next time. I appreciate you. I really enjoyed the relationship. I really like seeing a captain, in a relationship that lasts for more than one or two episodes. We got, and that was one of the things I loved about Deep Space Nine. You had Sisko and Yates on and off, but then on again. And I thought that was really cool. And I like seeing someone who is the captain of a ship have a personal life and dive into that a little bit. And I thought Strange New Worlds did a wonderful job with these two characters, and the chemistry was really, really good. Knowing what's going to happen in the foreshadowing, it is a little bit sad. But one thing that I do know, no matter how a relationship ends up, if you have had love and lost, that's the best scenario there, because you've had it and you know what it feels like. And if you can find it again, if you're lucky, it's even more wonderful. But I think this is a great tribute to the character of Captain Pike and Battelle that we've been brought into this. And I think they're kind of one of the Trek super couples, I'll be honest with you. And even though it's a little bit tragic, we know what happens. Kyle, what do you think?
I think one thing we haven't mentioned is we have to admit the chemistry between Anson and Melanie is off the charts.
Yeah.
And it has been since this series started and they were on screen together for the first time. And I think that adds to how powerful this is.
All right. Well, guys, let's have a little bit of fun here. Let's get into the next mission report here. Kirk and Spock dynamics take another step with the mind meld between the two. Spock calls Kirk Jim for the first time. Your thoughts on the scenes they share in this episode and this season laying the groundwork for Kirk and Spock's historic relationship. We've seen this in many iterations, of course, and I love that they're laying the groundwork for this. Kyle, let's start with you.
This has been the highlight of the second half of season of Strange New Worlds, is building the groundwork towards the original series and putting these people together and seeing the early building of this relationship between Kirk and what will eventually be his crew. And to have the mind meld with Spock and to have those little moments, call me Jim, to have, well, don't talk about Orion. And then even afterwards, when Leon comes up to him after everything has happened and he's like, oh, dance rehearsal. And she's kind of looking, oh damn, mind meld. And she realizes how much Kirk actually knows, which is probably, he is probably the last person she would actually want him to want to know about some of these things. But they have done such a beautiful job with this in this season of building these relationships. And what they did this episode was Kirk and Spock just was the cherry on top. I mean, this was fantastic. It is so much fun. And I'm going to tell you what, they keep going at this rate. I am all for the idea of bringing back a new version of the original series with Paul Wesley as Cook and Ethan Peck as Spock. Because I would love to see.
I probably should have put that. Kyle, I'm glad you brought that up because I probably should have put that because I want to ask you guys. I mean, we don't know, I know that we know the next Star Trek series is, what you call it? Academy. But they're laying the groundwork for possibly another series where we get like the first year or two of, Kirk in command and these crew members that we've known to love that have taken over these iconic roles. So let me throw that second question at you right now, Kyle, since you brought it up. Do you think this is something you'd watch?
Oh, I'd watch it in a heartbeat because one, I love this crew. And yes, maybe we're not getting everybody over, but we're getting so many wonderful versions of these characters portrayed by wonderful actors. I'm all for finding a way to continue this and giving us like the original series, the early years or something like that. I don't know, but I would love to see more of this with the Ethan Peck has been phenomenal as Spock. I think Paul Wesley has really grown into Kirk in this season. Just across the board. Yeah, give me more of this when Strange New Worlds is done. Find a way, whether it's in some made for movies or one or two seasons. I don't care. Find a way, guys.
Ailey, I saw you nodding there. What do you think?
Yeah, so I agree with Kyle. I have appreciated this. At first, I was a little skeptical. I was like, okay, how's this going to work? But it has been really great. And Ethan Peck has really grown on me as far as portraying Spock. And Paul Wesley's doing a really great job of early Kirk. And so I could see them potentially doing something, like a season or two, because we know that TOS, with Captain Kirk also has a 5-year mission.
Or even a movie, right?
Yeah, a movie, something. It could definitely be something. I do have to say, because we're talking about this, the scenes, because of this mind meld, absolutely fantastic. Moving the ships in synchronicity with each other. That was visually just absolutely beautiful. Wow. I loved it so much. And I loved this idea of this mind meld being used in a way that we would get these two ships doing something at the same time because of how important that was, to not blow everybody up, right? And so I thought that was really just well done.
Jim McMahon says, yes, a revamped TOS with Paul, Ethan, Celia would be amazing. Agree. Thanks, Jim. Joel also says, hello, everyone. Appreciate you coming in, Joel. Appreciate you listening. Thank you guys for checking in with the chat. We'd love to hear more. So, okay, Amy, your thoughts on the scenes that we're getting with Kirk and Spock and laying the groundwork. And also, too, I'm going to throw the question at you as well. Would you like to see either a movie or, limited series with them being the iconic early TOS adventures?
Yeah, it's definitely chef's kiss, all of this, like exactly what Haley is saying, the mind meld. And now for me, I see TOS and I'm remembering the scenes now with this in my head canon, like they've already, and it's changing now. I mean, I just watched The Wrath of Khan and sort of, now that scene has so much more meaning if I have this in my head canon, like that sacrifice and them looking at, Oh, like, yes, this is only making TOS better. And for this TNG girl to say that is something pretty amazing. And I think you would agree, Kevin, like we are TNG. And so to have this, is amazing. And I do want to point out another thing, like, because Kyle, you mentioned when La'an came up and, you have the mind meld. I get that. That was awesome because we know from Tomorrow that La'an has feelings for Kirk. And so there's that is played perfectly, that it's like, I don't think it was dismissive. I think it was, we are all adults and we are moving on from that weird timey-wimey thing. But then I also love the mature relationship between Nurse Chapel and La'an when they are down and they try and distract the guards, and La'an comes up and does the neck pinch. And Nurse Chapel is like, you got to show me the placement of your thumb. How did you do that? And it's like, because they both have been with Spock, but it's a mature adult relationship. And that's how we move on, because there's people going to be dating people and we're in this small confined ship. So yes, and Spock has been around. So let's not shy away. Let's not make it awkward. Let's just, I loved it. I thought that was a great way to show maturity in what could be an awkward situation.
Jim in the chat says to you, Amy, maybe we could meet Tori's ancestors in the revamped TOS, Amy. So yeah.
I think he means Trios.
No, I think he means Troy.
Troy.
Yes.
Sorry. Troy.
Kevin, before you hop in, I just got to give a shout out to Amy because she mentioned Wrath of Khan, and it made me think, how much more powerful is this mind meld in Strange New Worlds, knowing that when Sarek goes to visit Kirk in search for Spock, and he's shocked that the mind meld didn't happen with Kirk when he's looking for Spock's memories. So little things, just those little.
It is. It's incredible what they've done, and it is these little things and paying attention to not necessarily. They haven't messed with anything that we get in TOS and we get from the original series films. They've added to it, and it's even sometimes just a small little layer, and it's been brilliant and so well done, and I appreciate that so much.
That's an excellent point, Haley. By the way, I got to give a shout out to Joel in chat. He says, everyone dates Spock to learn the neck pinch. I would date Spock to learn the neck pinch. I'm just saying.
True.
Me too.
Yeah.
I really love the groundwork they're laying between the relationship between Jim and Spock. And it's been great. Perfectly betrayed by the actors, and I want to see more. I hopefully that we'll get that. So the next thing I want to bring up here, guys, and now it's funny you mentioned earlier, Amy, timey-wimey.
Oh yes.
So I'll bring this to the board here. So Pelia drops the bomb, quote, "Remind me to tell you about the time I spent with a time-traveling doctor once," suggested that she is familiar with a certain doctor from Doctor Who. In the second Doctor Who reference of the season, following the TARDIS cameo in the Salat Who Ate Its Tail, Pelia, played by Carol Kane, implies she once spent time with a time-traveling doctor. So I'm like, okay, I got to look this down a little bit more, because I know. Hold on, Kyle, can you, what do you have there? What's going on, man? What's going on?
Oh, well, it's a sonic screwdriver.
Okay.
Come on. These are all over the place in Star Trek. What are you talking about?
This is true.
I'm just adjusting my mic because it's very important. I'm getting readings. It's great.
So what you to describe to the listeners of this podcast, you have a Doctor Who what?
It's a Star Trek sonic screwdriver. What are you talking about? They're the same universe.
Okay. Well, so I had to go to Google and AI and kind of see what they're saying. And so what they're saying here is this, that Pelia, the long-lived engineer in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, is confirmed to have met the Doctor, a character from Doctor Who, the character of Doctor Who during her many centuries of life, according a mention in a Star Trek Strange New Worlds finale preview. The subtle connection was made by Pelia herself, a Lanthanite with thousands of years of adventures. The two franchises have a history of crossovers, including a past mobile game collaboration and a shared panel at the 2024 Comic-Con. Although a live-action TV crossover remains a dream for many, many fans. So, Kyle, I'm going to turn this over to you because you're probably our Doctor Who expert here on the panel. This has been something fans have been having a little fun with. And so I have a question here, Kyle.
Yeah, my Sonic's ready.
Did Strange New World season just confirm that Star Trek and Doctor Who share the same universe? Yep.
The answer is it's a very distinct possibility because I think Alathanite is another word for Gallifreyan, which is, of course, the planet and the people that the Doctor is from. He is a Time Lord from Gallifrey. She knows too much, and I'm just gonna say if she has met a Doctor, some people might throw out Tom Baker. Some people might even throw out Matt Smith. There's no way the Doctor she met was David Tennant, because Carol Kane and David Tennant would have just way too much crazy chemistry together.
Well, just to interrupt real quick, Jim in the chat says maybe Pelia is the Doctor, and Joel says Pelia is running for that companion slot.
Don't say anything, but I did find this in Pelia's quarters, so I'm just saying.
For those of you that don't know, companion is always some other person that joins the Doctor Who on their adventures with the TARDIS. That is
no
time machine, I guess. So yeah,
Pelia would be the equivalent, and I know some of you might not get this. She would be the River Song equivalent, which, if you are familiar with the Matt Smith run of Doctor Who, she was the Doctor's wife, and I could really see Pelia more of that role than in a companion.
I just see Amy going, what?
well, one day Amy
very
will
little.
be watching Doctor Who.
Okay, so Kyle, your thoughts. You are the resident Doctor Who expert here on this panel here. What are your
thoughts? Don't tell Dan Hadley that.
Hey, he's not here. You are.
I think it's something they have played with for a very long time. There's been several comic books where they've crossed over Doctor Who and Star Trek. I know there's some fan films out there. I think it's a very distinct possibility. Not so much that's the same universe, but the TARDIS has been known to have a little temper tantrum and jump universes from time to time. I could easily see where the Doctor could have come across the Enterprise at some point. And I am sure, depending on which version of the Doctor it is, the report might not have given all of the details of what happened with the Doctor. But yeah, I would not be. I mean, I think it's very easily one of the easiest crossovers in science fiction to do, and would be one of the most fun.
I think we need it. I really do, even though I'm not an expert on Doctor Who. And by the way, for those of you who are curious, we actually have a Doctor Who Type 40 podcast that is on the network that is run by our good friend Dan Hadley out of Birmingham, UK. Does a wonderful job there, so make sure you check that out. Amy, you got a comment?
Yeah, I have a question. Like, I did the vampire thing at the intro because Scotty, when they were doing the transporter or whatever, like replied as Pelia in this vampire voice. And they're like, well, she didn't talk like a vampire. And he's like, well, sometimes she does, or she could, or something. And I'm like, did Carol Kane play a vampire previously? What, or are we laughing at how she talks? Like, why was that inserted?
That's a good question. I don't know.
So off the top of your head, she's not been in any vampire movie. Like,
I don't know off the top of my head.
The only thing I can tell you is that she's incredibly dangerous with a toaster.
That is from the 1988 Christmas movie Scrooged, where she plays the ghost of Christmas.
Wait. Hold on. She did a TV series it was an animated series called Vampirina.
Oh,
so maybe that's what it's
deep cut there, Kyle. Thank you for that.
Well, I have, she's done several other kind of spooky things and shows and voices.
Yeah, Addams Family.
Joel in the chat says, "I want to hear the Transylvanian Pelia." And he also said that they mentioned Star Trek on the last Doctor Who season. And I've seen Kane in Transylvania 65000, but she wasn't a vampire. So there you go.
Okay, so I think it is just a deep cut for Carol Kane, the actor. Okay, thank you.
Before we get to our guest, before we get to our episode cast or guest star MVP, did anyone else want to bring anything else to the table from this particular episode? Okay.
I just want to say, if they were to do a Trek Doctor Who crossover, I really think it would have to be Doctor Who straight in the Strange New Worlds cast. I think. Oh
God, yeah, especially with Pelia. Come on, I mean, he's got to start that episode off, So yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get to our final section here. We're going to talk about our favorite episode cast or guest star MVP. All right, here we go. I want to get you guys' thoughts on your Star Trek MVP here. Or as Amy might bring to the table, sometimes your least favorite cast member here. Sorry, Amy, I'm not going to let that go. That was just funny. Haley, let's start with you. Who in this episode was your MVP, either guest star or cast member?
My MVP is everybody. Sorry.
Okay. I like that.
I can't
Everyone brought it to the table?
Yeah, I can't pick just one. Everyone had their moment to shine and to be forward. I loved Una when she comes and, she pours a drink at the end and she asks Pike, do you want to talk about it? And he says no. And they just sit there and she doesn't say anything. She doesn't press him on it. That was beautiful. I mean, obviously Pike was very centered in this episode. Batel was very centered in this episode. Everybody had a moment. We get Uhura saying, comms open at the end. I mean, it was just brilliant and hands down everyone. Everyone won. Everybody won.
All right. Kyle, what about you? Who is your MVP cast or guest cast?
So there's a couple things here. First, in all seriousness, it's a co-MVP. It's Patel and Pike. I mean, those two, Anson Mount and Melanie, were fantastic in this episode. Anson Mount, with the emotion that he had to show in this episode, was just mind-blowing, and he was phenomenal. But Kevin, there is a very quiet MVP in this episode. We are talking about redheaded Nurse Chapel. Nurse Chapel needs to stay a redhead. I'm sorry, guys. Just saying. I'm just sorry, guys.
Don't apologize. I think it's all right. So, yeah. Jim McMahon says Batel definitely MVP. I like that. It's a good one. Okay. What about you, Amy? Who's your MVP?
All right. Well, I had assumed that yes, Pike and Batel would be chosen. So my MVP is going to Kirk. Since you guys are all breaking the rules, then I'm going to throw Spock in there too. But Kirk really, he seemed to pull me in when he was talking to Spock, and I just felt the gravity of when he was preparing for that mind meld, and just like everything that comes after. I'm envisioning this Kirk to be not William Shatner, but the Kirk that is. And Haley, you said it best. He is encapsulating this young Kirk so well that I'm almost forgetting William Shatner. And like when I watch TOS, like it is Paul Wesley. So I am loving this transformation. So for me, I'm giving it to Paul Wesley and his portrayal, that scene right there in the bar for Captain Kirk.
That's a good call out. Joel says Pike's now non-existent daughter is my MVP. She was really good, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes you want to see more of that relationship. I'm going to give mine to both Batel and Pike. I believe their chemistry throughout this episode and throughout the season 3 has been wonderful, and they had some really wonderful moments here, especially when you see the alternate universe where they get older, they got the kids, and I thought their chemistry in this was just great. Just moments throughout this season that was wonderful. So Yeah.
All right, Kevin. I know you asked previously, but I do have one other topic that I'd like to bring up.
Oh, please. Yeah. What you got? Yeah.
You did bring it up, and I want to ask your opinion, you guys, on, and Haley, you brought it up, like when Uhura's hailing frequency open and Una leans in, is this a hit up moment? And let's do what Erica says. And like, I feel personally that that last little bit was the crappiness that Discovery ended, that last little epilogue, and how it just felt so forced. And maybe that's just me, but it just like we went
Are you
around.
talking this episode felt forced?
Yeah. So we
You mean
went
like
around.
this scene here?
Yes. And we get Una saying hailing frequency. So everyone's saying their catchphrase. And I'm
Right.
like, I just felt, yes, we know this is a season finale. I get it. But that seemed too heavy of a bookmark end for me. So did you guys like that going around last little tidbit?
Kyle?
I think it was a nice little tribute. I think they were trying to have some fun with it. But you bring up another point, something I forgot to bring up because you were talking about Discovery and the Discovery finale. Were you getting? And I'm just curious, to Amy and to all you guys, were you getting that Discovery vibe of how they went into the future afterwards with Sonequa Martin Green and her family? Kind of felt similar to what they did here with Pike and Patel too. Like, were you picking up a little bit of that vibe? I was like, didn't we just kind of have this? I mean, it just something that popped in my mind when I was watching it for the second time. But it did feel a little bit like that. But I think the whole point of that scene too was they were all trying to be there for Pike in their own way. And yes, they used the catchphrase thing. I really think it was trying to boost Pike's spirits and show how much they love Pike and how
what Joel says in the chat here. I felt the end. He says, I felt the end was the crew knowing Pike was devastated by Battelle leaving, caring for their captain.
Oh, Joel, you fixed it for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is exactly. Now I can see that. Thank you.
Oh, what about you, Haley? What do you think?
Yes, I can see where Amy's coming from. I thought it was a great nod because yes, we get it at the end of the episode, but that's kind of how TOS episodes ended. So it's really that like, okay, we're going on to the next adventure kind of thing. And then you're getting the next episode. Okay. And then, so like the hailing frequencies being open and all that kind of, so it kind of took me back into that TOS kind of mindset. And I think that's where they were headed with that, is just kind of like this little nod. Yeah.
Okay, that fixes it even better. Fabulous.
I couldn't have said it better, Haley. Yeah, and Joel, thanks again. That was a good comment there. So yeah, I was just I felt like they wanted to end it on a positive note, and because it wasn't this intense season finale that we got at the end of season 2, and even though it kind of feels like a series finale, we know that it's not. But I like I was kind of wondering if like they did this because maybe at the time when they filmed this, they're like, are we getting another season? So let's kind of end it off on a nice little thing here. And I think it was a good send off for the next one because we know that we're going to get some really good adventures. As we know, one of the things we've really enjoyed about Star Trek Strange New Worlds is the episodic format, with all of the character ties that still stay in touch and are fluid throughout the season, as opposed to getting, what we got with, Discovery, where there's one large plot and we're all hoping and praying that it's going to pay off in the end, so
it's like reading one of your favorite book series, you read like a book series. Like I'm currently in a book series that the author comes out with 2 every year. And so there's over 60 books. Each book is its own thing. And sometimes, yes, they reference another one, but the character development is great. And so that's what I love about it, because again, you can pick up a book. Like someone could pick up one of these books off my shelf, randomly read it, and be totally fine with not have read any of the previous ones, because you can stand alone while also being part of a larger chunk of something.
That's a good point. All right. Well, guys, let's go ahead and wrap things up. I want to get your final thoughts here and also find out where we can meet you. This is Union Federation, episode 227. We've been discussing the season 3, episode 10, New Life and New Civilizations of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, here on the Union Federation podcast. We want to get your final thoughts here of this episode, and also give you a little tease. The next set of limited series we're going to be doing here on Union Federation, we're going to be discussing the Q episodes from 1987 to 2001. That is from, of course, Star Trek The Next Generation. We also had an episode of Deep Space Nine and a few from Voyager. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. But let's go ahead and get your final thoughts here, of course, of this episode. Let's go ahead and start with you, Kyle.
Well, not only my final thoughts of this episode, but my final thoughts for this season. I thought that this episode, again, could have benefited from having a little bit more added to it, maybe making a 2-part finale, but I still think it is emotionally one of the most powerful episodes of Star Trek we've seen in a good while. And I think this 3rd season of Strange New Worlds, a little bit more up and down than I thought the previous 2 seasons were. And when Strange New Worlds is up and at its highest, I don't think there's better Trek out there. And I think we saw that in several episodes in this season. I think one of the biggest regrets I have is that these seasons are only 10 episodes. I would love to see so much more. And this has been a phenomenal ride. We know we've got basically about a season and a half left, but I'm with Haley. This might be my favorite Trek show. Might have taken over as my favorite Trek show. It's close, but if they keep nailing it, I think it will be by the time it's all said and done. It might. I can say this with pretty good confidence now. This is my favorite Trek cast, and as much as I love TNG, and there's just something about this cast that I absolutely love. And I don't know if it's because they're pulling off these characters that are already established, and I feel somewhat connected to them, but I feel them connected to them in even a deeper way because of this show. I don't know, but it's just something about how they play off of each other and the chemistry is there. This has been a great run with Strange New Worlds. I am excited for season 4. Bring on Smile Time Trek. I hear a Puppet Pike is even more diva about his hair than actual Captain Pike. So we're gonna have some fun there. But yeah, let the countdown to. I know it's going to be a good while. Probably not till sometime in 2026 because we'll have Academy before the next season of Strange New Worlds. But I can't wait for season 4 of Strange New Worlds.
And Kyle, how can we reach you?
According to the Sonic, you can reach me all over the Fandom Podcast Network, Facebook page groups, including the Union Federation page group. You can find me on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it these days at AKyleW. You can also find me on Blue Sky at AKyleW, and you can find me on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom.
All right.
I've got to do some of the TARDIS, so you guys got to hurry because it gets temperamental and jealous.
I just want to let you know, Kyle. Amy is giving her version of the face palm right now. Just so you know.
I'm fixing that.
Amy, thank you for joining us as always. You are the founder of the BQN. Give me your final thoughts on this episode and also where we can reach you and what's going on with BQN.
Well, I'm going to follow Kyle's lead and say my thoughts for the entire season as well. As you were talking, Kyle, I was thinking, yeah, this hasn't been my favorite season. For me, last season was because it was bam, bam, good, 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 good. I feel like this season, I've been to a party where there's a piñata and I'm getting whiplash. But I'm fine with it because the candy comes out and I'm happy. And what I've gotten is this amazing, delicious treat of Star Trek. It's been a wide swing, but I'm there for it. I have loved the episodes. I think they've been great. I just think they've been really big swings this season. And hey, why not? It's episodic. We can do it. So, yeah.
What's happening on the BQN and how can we find you?
Well, you can find me. I co-host All Good Things podcast. I will be starting our YouTube show Sunday mornings, October 5th, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And we've got our Trek Masters is coming back, previously known as Trek Experts quiz. They changed their name. So Trek Masters, they're in their new season. They just had a fabulous one on Strange New Worlds. So
Awesome.
that was a fun
Nice.
one. Yeah. So you can go check that out everywhere. BQN Podcasts on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. And at BQN Podcast, we have a Discord server with amazing conversation there and a Facebook group. And I'm also in our Facebook group, Union Federation. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Amy. Haley, give me your final episode, your thoughts on this episode, and if you want to talk about the season as well.
Sure. Yeah, this episode, again, I think just shows exactly why episodic television works and why we loved it when we were growing up, because you get to follow the characters, but every episode brings you something new and different. And we like that. So I loved this episode. I think it was beautiful. Again, every character had a moment to grow and show something else, and also support Captain Pike through what happened. And so I just loved it, and I'm so excited for the next season and a half, and they better not cancel that because I will riot. So, but I think, like Amy and Kyle were saying, this season has been so back and forth. But again, that episodic allows us to have that. And again, I love these characters. I think the actors have probably, I hope, fallen in love with these characters. I'm so glad that they're part of the Trek community. And I look forward to many more episodes of getting to know these people. So. You can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky. I'm at Trekkie01D.
Awesome. Thank you, Haley. Appreciate that. My name is Kevin. You can find me on all the socials at Spartan_Phoenix and also on Blue Sky at Spartan Phoenix. And of course, Union Federation is also on X and Instagram, and Fandom Podcast Network is also on Blue Sky. You can check us out there, so please do. I really, my final thoughts is I thought this was a good finale. I kind of wish that this season of Strange New Worlds was something like a lot of our favorite shows that got canceled too soon in like the 80s and 90s and early 2000s would have done, was let's wrap it up in season 1 just in case we get canceled early. And I felt that kind of feeling like if we had not gotten another episode of Strange New Worlds, I felt this was a good wrap up, but we know it's not the rest. It's not the end. And that makes me even happier. So I think that's really cool. I really enjoyed the crew in this. And I feel like, yes, the crew, the cast has really bonded really, really well. I think the reception has been done really well. There's been some really fun episodes, some very dark episodes. 4.5 Vulcans really stands out to me. I really enjoyed that one there. And I just want to say I really, really, really appreciate, first of all, everyone that's been watching and listening to us. We really appreciate that. We love your feedback as well. And I just love talking Star Trek here on the Union Federation and here on the Fandom Podcast Network. And especially with you, Kyle, Amy, Haley, we really appreciate you guys. So thank you very much. Yeah, Kyle.
Before we get out of here real quick, too, I just want to, I would be remiss if we didn't have a shout out to a man who should have been an admiral, whether he was on Star Trek or the Orville. Rest in peace, Robert Redford, one of the greatest actors in history. And really should have been an admiral on Star Trek or the Orville.
Oh, God, can you imagine?
He would have been a badmiral.
Ooh. Well, guys, thank you, everyone. And thank you all in the chat. We really appreciate you guys checking in here. Thanks to Joel. Thank you also to Jim. And, of course, thank you to Trek Masters. We all appreciate you guys very, very much for checking the chat and everyone else is viewing. And, Kyle, make sure you don't poke that thing right too much right there. That, yeah. The sonic screwdriver. There you go. All right, guys. Well, that is it for season 3 of Star Trek Strange New World, New Life, and New Civilizations. And I just want to give another little tease here, guys. Don't forget, coming up, we're going to showcase, we're going to go back to TNG and an episode of Deep Space Nine and, of course, Voyager. we're going to be talking about the Q episodes, and we're going to be targeting the ones that were here in the Star Trek Q Fan Collective DVD collection. The first episode, of course, is going to be talking about the Farpoint TNG episode, but we're also going to be having a little history on Q as well. So make sure you guys check that out. Anyway, again, thank you everyone here. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Haley. Thank you, everyone in the chat, listeners and viewers. Until next time here on the Union Federation podcast, live long and prosper. And we are, without a doubt, the weirdest ship in the fleet. We'll see you guys next time.